Hi everyone, in this video I want to talk about a new feature we just released with Cloudera Flow Management 2.15 for on-prem deployments and CDP 7.2.16 when you are using NiFi in DataHub on public cloud. This new feature is to give you the option to connect NiFi with the Cloudera DataFlow Catalog. The Cloudera DataFlow Catalog is basically a Cloudera hosted SaaS version of the NiFi Registry. It's basically what this is. So now, starting with CFM 2.15 or CDP 7.2.16, you can connect NiFi to this Cloudera DataFlow Catalog system, and you can use it as a NiFi registry, exactly the same way as you would with NiFi Registry. So I want to show you how it's working. In this case, I'm using a Cloudera public cloud deployments. So I created my environment. I already have DataHub clusters with my NiFi cluster here. So that's what I'm going to use, but the exact same process is also working for on-prem deployments if you are deploying, for example, CFM 2.15. So let's get started. I will go directly to my NiFi UI. I have my NiFi cluster up and running. Everything's fine. Perfect. So if you are already a user of Cloudera products, Cloudera Flow Management, we are configuring for you a bunch of things out of the box. And if you go to the controller settings and the registry clients tab, you would have a connection set out of the box for you connecting to the NiFi registry. This doesn't change. It's still available out of the box in case you want to use the NiFi registry that is being provisioned automatically with your DataHub cluster or when you are deploying CFM on-prem environments. But we are going to add a new registry client that is going to connect to the DataFlow catalog. Before I do that, the first step is to actually go into your control plane that you have access to with Cloudera. If you don't, please reach out to us. Once you have access, you can go directly to your user management and create a service account that is going to be used by NiFi to interact with the catalog. So for example, here, I already created a service account here, DF catalog service account. For this user I created, you need to give read-write access to the DataFlow catalog so that you can version control your flows directly in the catalog. And you need to generate access keys for this user. So you want to create access key, and you will have a public key and private key, and that's how we are going to configure our registry client to connect to the DataFlow catalog. So that's really the first step, and then we can go directly to the DataFlow service and look at the DataFlow catalog. So as I said, the DataFlow catalog is really just like kind of a NiFi registry. So if we go in the catalog, you have all of your flows, you have versioning, you have a lot of things. And obviously, if you are a public cloud customer and user with Cloudera public cloud, you could select a flow and then select a version and deploy it, and that will deploy it directly on NiFi on Kubernetes. However, you can also, as I said, use it kind of in the same way as you would with a NiFi registry. So if I go back to my NiFi cluster and I go to controller settings, I can go here in registry clients and I can add a new instance. Here, you see that you have two options. You have the classic NiFi registry, Flow registry clients, if you want to connect to a NiFi registry instance, and you have this new option, which is Cloudera DataFlow registry client. So it's a client that you are going to use to connect to the DataFlow catalog. So let's say, let's give it a name and add, and then you can configure it. So when you configure it, there are a few things you need to configure. The endpoints is the right one out of the box. So you can keep it like this. unless you are using some regional control planes with Cloudera Public Cloud, meaning that you are using the control plane in Europe or in Asia. In that case, you can change this endpoint. So the first thing you want to web clients, it's straightforward. You just create a new service. You can leave everything default. And then when you go to it, you can just enable it. You don't have to change anything. If you have a look, this web clients is how you can configure things like SSL context service and proxy configuration. In our case, you don't need to change anything because the Cloudera DataFlow Catalog is using well-known certificate authority, so you don't need to specify a custom SSL context service. So we don't do anything here. You just enable it, and that's it. Then we can go back to the registry client, and here you want to give your access key and private key. So I have a user for this. Let me retrieve the information on my side. So here is my access key. And I'm going to set the private key as well. Okay, so here it is. I set my private key, the access key for the user I just created in the control plane, and that's all you need. That's it. So basically, you can now use NiFi as you always do, and use this connection to the DataFlow catalog to use the DataFlow catalog as a NiFi registry. So the first thing is, let's say I create a process group, let's say my use case, and I'm adding a bunch of things here, generate flow file, and then, I don't know, publish Kafka CDP. Let's do something like this, assuming I want to do some load testing in Kafka. And that's my use case, right? So I can now go on my process group, I can start version control. And here in this UI, I can select in which registry I want to version control my flow definition. So you can choose the NiFi registry if you want, or you can now use the DataFlow catalog. So here, it's going to be the DataFlow catalog. For the bucket, you don't have the option. It will go in custom flows. We don't have this concept of bucket in the DataFlow catalog. So there is like one single bucket that you can use. And then here is load testing in Kafka. Just GFF processor to do some load testing in Kafka. And that's it, initial version. And that's it. I can click save, and this is going to register my flow definition directly in the DataFlow catalog. So we can see here now it's registered, it's versioned. And if I go back to my DataFlow catalog, if I refresh this and I search for load, I would see here my flow load testing in Kafka. Something that is important to keep in mind is that here it will show my service account as the user that pushed the flow definition in the catalog. So here it will be my service account. It's not my own user, right? So that's something to keep in mind. This is using the user that you configured with your registry clients. And that's it. Then I have my first version. I can make some changes here. I can, I don't know, like here, use a duplicate flow file to increase the load testing. So I would push this here and then this here. So that will be a new version. And I want to refresh here and commit local changes. So added duplicate flow file to increase load, and I would save, And that's it. So that's my version 2. If I go back here, it's now going to show version 2 here with added a duplicate flow file to increase load. So that's my version 2. Okay, so that's how you would use it to version control your flows. Okay, now if you want to check out a flow from the DataFlow catalog, you can just drag and drop a process group. Here you can click import from registry, and this will connect to your registry. So here, same story. You can choose if you want to connect to the DataFlow catalog or to the NiFi registry. Then you can choose the bucket, and then you have the list of flow. So for example, if I select the custom flows bucket, there will be all of my flows there. So if I go to my load testing here in Kafka, that's the flow I just created. I can see the versions, and I could select the version I want to check out. So for example, here, I could import this flow. And here is my process group, and it's obviously the same, right? So that's what you can do. And also something that is really nice with this new feature is that you can also, from the ReadyFlows bucket. ReadyFlows is something that we have in Cloudera DataFlow Catalog. It's basically a set of flows that we provide to our users, where we build some out-of-the-box flows for common use cases. So you can just go there, select something that is making sense for you. For example, Confluent Cloud to Snowflake. You can select the version you want, you can import, and you would have the flow out of the box. So now you can just go in this process group. You would just enable all controller services. And then you have to configure a few things. So here you can right-click parameters, and you will be able to set all of the parameters here. You don't need to change the flow definition, but you just need to provide all of the parameters, and that will be up and running for your use case. Obviously, if you want to make some changes to this flow to better match your use case, you can do that. So something to keep in mind is that the ReadyFlows bucket that I just used to check out this flow is read-only. This is a library that we manage at Cloudera, so you can't change the flow definition there. So let's say you make a change here. For example, I don't know. Let's say, well, actually, let's say that you want to also send data into another Kafka that is managed by Cloudera instead of Confluent. So you would use this, and you could say, okay, let's also send the data here. Okay, so that would be my version 2 of my flow, where I consume from Confluent. I do some filtering based on a SQL query, and then I send data to Snowflake and Kafka on Cloudera Data Platform. So if I do that here, we can see that this is a new version, and there is changes that I can commit. If I try to commit the changes, version 2, edit, publish Kafka, this will fail because the ReadyFlows bucket is read-only. Okay, so something you will need to do if you are checking out flows from ReadyFlows bucket is that you would right-click here on the process group. You will stop version control so that it's no longer connected to the ReadyFlows bucket, and then you can go and start version control, and this time register this flow into your own bucket or using the NiFi registry. It's really up to you. So that's also something to keep in mind if you are checking out the flow definition from the ReadyFlow bucket. This is read-only, so if you need to make changes to this flow definition, which is probably something you will need to do, think about stopping version control and starting version control where you want to save your flow definition. That's it. That's how you can connect NiFi to the DataFlow catalog to check out flow definitions from ReadyFlows if you want to get started very quickly and be up and running with very common use cases we see across our customers, or if you can, or if you want to use the DataFlow catalog as a free SaaS version of the NiFi Registry. Again, keep in mind that this is something you can use with your CFM deployments on-prem and also your CFM deployments in DataHub public cloud. So that's really nice, because now you can use, if you are let's say a multi-cloud or hybrid user of NiFi, you can use this DataFlow catalog as a single point to move your flow definitions across your different environments on-prem and in the cloud. So this is kind of powerful. That's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be adding a few links in the description so that you can check out the documentation about this, and feel free to comment if you have any question. Thanks for watching, and see you soon in the next video.